Everyone, and welcome to the council meeting for the 15th of it's not November, it's December. Who wrote this? Good. Please join me in standing for the opening karakia. Thank you.
Te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mahi kina i hiuta, kia mahi taratara ki tai, e hia ki ana te ata kura, he tino, he huka, he hauhu, tihei, mauri ora.
Right. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to get done is an apology. Right. I've received an email from David East, Daryl Latham, Kim Money and Tim Sinters that requested an apology be read out at a full council meeting following the finding of the Ombudsman 2022 investigation into the handling of a code of conduct complaints raised against them. A code of conduct complaint was made against the 4 members after they said that staff had removed a section of the district plan related to flooding. Professor Peter Skelton was appointed to investigate the complaint. It was found that they had breached the code of conduct. This finding was subsequently referred to the Ombudsman, who reviewed the investigation process. The Ombudsman investigation related to how the code of conduct proceedings were handled. It does not relate to the reason of the code of conduct investigation nor the findings of that investigation. The Ombudsman reached the following 5 findings in relation to their investigation into the code of conduct complaint. The decision of the council to commence and continue the code of conduct proceeding against the complainants was not unreasonable or wrong. The council had not acted unreasonably in the course of these code of conduct proceedings. The process the council followed to appoint Professor Skelton was not unreasonable. The council acted unreasonably by not properly addressing the procedural fairness concerns raised by the community board members, and the decision to publish Professor Skelton's report was unreasonable. In relation to the findings 4 and 5, the Ombudsman recommended that the council apologise to the complainants for its lack of engagement with them to address the concerns they had raised about Professor Skelton's report and the council's decision to publish the report without that engagement. This was followed by a letter apologising to the 4 former members from the Chief Executive on the 9th of August 2022. These 4 citizens were all elected and office holders of the Christchurch City Council. Former Councillor David East represented the Coastal Ward from 2013 to 2019 and previously a member of the Burwood Pegasus Community Board from 2007 to 2013. Former Community Board Chair Kim Money represented the Coastal Ward from 2016 to 2019. Former Community Board Tim Sinters represented the Coastal Ward from 2007 to 2019. All 3 are long-standing residents of the wider Brighton area, actively involved in many different community projects, events and groups. Similarly, former Community Board member Daryl Latham has been actively involved in many different community projects, events and groups in the wider Sumner area. He represented the Heathcote Ward on the Community Board from 2016 to 2022. All are tireless advocates for the residents of Christchurch's coastal communities, and they continue to do so today. I have reviewed the Ombudsman opinion and acknowledge these shortcomings in the council process related to not properly addressing the procedural fairness concerns raised by the community board members and the decision to publish Professor Skelton's report after the code of conduct proceedings were concluded. The council should have engaged with you to discuss your concerns about Professor Skelton's report before our decision to publish it. On behalf of the council, I apologise for this and any concerns these directions may have raised for you. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, so now we will move on.
Just a question. Is that going to be captured in the agenda, the bit that you've just read out?
In the minutes. It'll be in the minutes.
Be in minutes. Yep.
Okay, so I think it would be good to have it form a record
Absolutely.
officially on our paper.
No problem.
Yeah.
That's what's here for. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. We now have external recognition for council services. I'd like to take a few moments to acknowledge the great achievement by one of our Parks and Recreation and Sports team. At Recreation Aotearoa's 2023 Recreation Awards, Regional Parks Project Manager Steve Leatawa was awarded the Ian Galloway Memorial Cup, the most prestigious award in the parks industry. The whole team was behind Steve's nomination, describing him as the embodiment of kaitakitanga, particularly at Spencer Park, where he has dedicated many, many years of service. Steve's commitment to the sector spans 40 years and has been delivered in warmth, integrity, and an infectious smile. This is fantastic that Steve has been recognised nationally, and he is clearly a very, very worthy of this award. So I can ask Steve to come up, please. Oh, there he is. Look at this. Look at this. Also, I'm delighted to let you know that we also scooped the award for our Bin Good campaign that helps us all reduce waste to landfill. Congratulations to our marketing and identity teams, Principal Marketing Advisor Ros Riggerby, Marketing Advisor Courtney Tibbetts, Resource Recovery Contract Supervisor Tanya Lees, and our external media agency OMD, Managing Partner Sue McRae and Digital Director Deed Fahey. At the 2023 IAB New Zealand Digital Advertising Awards, they took home Silver Award for the Best Multi-Channel Integration Campaign and the Silver Award for the Best Use of Programmatic for Trash Talking, curb sign campaign. The Bin Good Behaviour Change campaign was a collaboration between the marketing and identity and the resource recoveries team with our external media agency OMD. It's challenging to get residents to change their behaviours, but their flair for their ideas hit the right note. Thanks to Christchurch residents for Bin Good, 98% of trucks are now accepted for recycling. We don't have to send any to Cape Valley for the recycling. So it's absolutely fantastic. So I'd like to ask those guys to come up and we will give you a couple of awards. Well done. Okie dokie. I'll now move the apology from Councillor Goff for lateness. And also Celeste is on Zoom. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor McClellan for lateness as well. Jake for lateness as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
Lateness. Okay, thank you. All those in favour? Against? Thank you, carried. We have no declarations of interest. I will move to include the open supplementary notice of motion in the report to the meeting. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Henstock, thank you very much. Okay, public participation. As this is the last council meeting of the year, we have a number of public forums presenting today. I will first welcome Melissa and Josh for the Christchurch City Mission to the table. Welcome. Far away.
Oh, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Melissa McCrenna, tuko ingoa. Ko City Mission Social Impact Manager Tapu Mahi.
Kia ora, I'm Josh. I'm the Outreach Kaimahi for the Christchurch City Mission. I've been working pretty hard for the last year, establishing, strong relations with not only the council, but the police, the inner city community, but more importantly, our street whānau, and not only in the inner city, but also around the suburbs in Christchurch. I have visited every single ward in our city in response to homelessness. I have visited people that are not only on their streets, but living in car parks, overcrowded housing, also in sheds and garages, but also an increase in the aged population. The oldest person I've spoken to was 72 years old, sleeping in a garden shed.
Right. We're here today to talk about, to just provide an update on the Inner City project, particularly the City Mission Outreach Service. It enables us to fund the full-time community outreach worker who works with and for those who are homeless and living in Christchurch, on our streets, our street whānau, our kawa. So Josh has provided support not only from our wider team at the City Mission, which includes social workers, community connectors, kaitotoko, and also our wider City Mission teams. The update we wanted to provide you was to let you know, last time we came, we talked about a new approach that was implemented in December of 2022, and you can see that the number of referrals interactions actually skyrocketed at that point in time. But from August through to November of this year, we're virtually doubled in the number of interactions that we're having with our street community, our street whānau. You'll see our busiest times are in the August, September, October, in the winter months. But also, just to let you know, Josh was actually sick in November, and also we were down on staff in that November period as well. The real focus of the service is really around building relationships, trust, walking alongside and enhancing mana. Look, I walked with Josh from the City Mission today down to the council, and I just wanted to say that was a heartwarming experience for me. The amount of people who are on the street, living on the street, who are interacting with him, shaking his hand, talking to him, connecting with him, was phenomenal from my perspective as his boss. That they really have a really strong relationship with this man. So not going into all of this, there's a lot of information there for you to read, but basically on average, we are doing 792 interactions in that 4 months, which is around 50 per week, around about 10 per day. We get 115 new referrals received from a wide range of different places, which on average is about 1 new referral a day. Josh tells me that he's seeing a new face every day, a new person who is without a home, who's living on the street every day. We had 221 interactions with the local businesses around the city. It's about getting out there, getting known, so that they know Josh, who to contact if they have any issues in regards to our street whānau. That's really, really important. That's a strong part of that job. We're really focused on strengthening the relationships. We're really clear in terms of the City Mission that we can't do this alone. We want to thank our partners in terms of the council, John and Gary and Rose, for the work that they've been doing. This is also the police, our housing providers, everybody working together for shared solutions and a joined up approach around the way in which we work. I wanted to highlight this bloke. He's consistent. He's there at 7 o'clock every morning walking the streets. He's out there looking for hot spots. He knows everybody. So really, we've had increased engagement with our street whānau, but also strong increases in them linking with a wide range of different services, particularly health services within the mission, but also within other services as well. And that's the navigation role that Josh provides. And also we've housed people as well through that process. You'll see the resources. There's a huge amount of resources that go into this. Sleeping bags, mats, raincoats. Today on the street, one guy actually asked us for some underpants. So we'll be getting back to him.
Also, I'd like to say that, I can't do my job, without the trust and respect from the street whānau. So I'd like to actually give a calling out to them too and acknowledge that I know I can't do what I do without their trust. All I have really out on the street is my word and my mana, and I hold that very highly for myself and a street whānau. I'm here for the street whānau to help them through, but also the importance of collaborative work between so many other services is one way that we can actually bend the worm backwards to ending homelessness in Otatahi. And I think we have a strong opportunity to do this collaboratively and together.
We just wanted to highlight the changing nature of homelessness. You can see it there. There's over 2,000 people in the Christchurch city as of September of 2023 that are on waiting on the MSD housing register. So we're having an impact, and just to let you know, there's a long wait list for public housing.
Also, I'd like to follow on with that. It's not only the people that we see on our street. I'm talking about the unseen homeless, the homeless that I don't see when I leave the city. That's another kettle of fish, I think is the saying. But also, I'm seeing full-time workers, part-time workers that don't have homes, sleeping in their cars, going to do 12-hour shifts, finding somewhere to sleep, waking up, trying to find somewhere to clean themselves and get to work. So, this does not discriminate. Homelessness does not discriminate. It does not care for your age. It does not care for your race. If you are homeless, it is ready to consume you.
We are seeing, biggest thing for us in terms of the mission, which has been difficult, is that initially this was an inner city collaboration. Now we're seeing a lot of homeless move in the suburbs. Yes. Huge. It's a transient kind of population that's happening at the moment. So if you're not seeing them in the central city, it's because a lot of the time they're out in your wards, your suburbs as well. And Josh, we've enabled him to flex and to be able to provide that support as well. What we're also seeing is an older demographic as well. There's a lot of older people in terms of their circumstances, for whatever reason, may end up on the street as well. This is something that's not just common to outreach. It's actually something we're seeing in the mission. A lot more people really struggling to access emergency accommodation as well. I think we wanted to end it there and to give some time for questions.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Councillor Barber?
Thanks for the amazing work that you do. It is just incredible, and I love the fact that you have relationships with all these people. I'm just thinking, how do we replicate Josh? Is there somebody else? Obviously he's unique.
Completely.
But having someone at the coalface who directly relates to people is probably the most important thing out of everything. So is there a way that you could pass those skills on, to somebody else, having an apprentice or...
Look, absolutely. I think we've talked about having a second person to support. We'd really like to do after hours and weekend and actually look at more about getting people into activities. Mission provides a whole lot of activities and services, but it's about what else can we do in the space that's a bit more creative and dynamic. And working with our council and the collaboration that we have around that, maybe we can explore that. He is unique. One of the things that I want to say about Josh is I'm a real advocate of the lived experience. People who have actually been there and have lived. And I think that actually helps in this space. So I certainly think we'd like an extra person in that space, and if we could, it is about getting the right person, the right fit for that work.
As you say,
and mirroring him, going out with him.
I mean, I am one person, and I mean, Christchurch is a big city. We know this. And I mean, I come to work with 100% passion and drive. I mean, can I continually do it? Well, we all know that eventually it fades away and such, but I'm passionate about it, and I would love to have somebody to bring up with me and to walk the walk with me too, so I can venture off into other avenues that our city needs.
Well, good on you. You're doing God's work.
And I mean, one of the issues may be also with that extra worker to actually have people with the lived experience actually coming on board and actually coming into one of those roles as well. Thank you.
And we've got time for one quick one from Councillor Scandrett.
Yeah, look, thank you very much. And we know that there's a fallacy where more homes mean cheaper homes, which is not. It's expensive to build, etc. But my question, we've got all these rentals which we had before the earthquake and lot built after. So do you think that short-term accommodation, so it just seems there's a gap somewhere that we're building all these homes and yet we've got homelessness, and I'm just wondering, we've seen overseas that there's been issues and they've banned short-term accommodation in certain areas for whatever reason. I'd be fascinated on your thoughts.
I mean, prior to the earthquake that pulled our city down, we had a lot of places like the old bars, like the Lancaster,
Yes.
a lot of pubs that would have single rooms that would accommodate people that need somewhere to live. I mean, that's gone. Transitional housing is what's missing.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for that.
And we do have transitional housing at the City Mission, but it's one unit. I mean,
we need
it
a lot
does
more of
take
it,
a
yeah.
village, and it does take a huge collaborative approach.
And my quick note to that is it's not as easy as going, right, here's a house, here's one of our homeless people. There's a whole lot of work in that space and wrapped around support that needs to happen for that person to stay in that house.
But with the transitional housing, as you said, there were communities around that. So yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you very much for coming in and sharing that with us, and thank you so much for the work you do. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Right, I'd like to welcome Robert from Community Energy Action, who will provide an overview on the various activities that CEA are doing. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, councillors, for having me here today. I'm here as a result of the council actually wishing to understand what Community Energy Action Charitable Trust does, and I think that's fallen out of some funding that came through the Sustainability Fund, the Council Sustainability Fund, and for the councillors to understand more about what we do in the marketplace. So I'm just going to quickly run through the slideshow, and hopefully at the end we'll have some time for some questions. So why do we exist? We're a charitable trust. So the key thing about that is that all of our surpluses go back to the community. We don't have shareholders. We don't have anybody that is entitled to any of our surpluses. We are a charitable trust owned by effectively the community. So every time you or anybody gives us funding, that funding is used to go back into the community and support the community in many ways, shapes and forms. We provide insulation and heating. We provide lots of other things. We provide a thing called a scoopy. Anybody seen a scoopy before? Now these are brilliant. So if you've got condensation on your window, you slide the scoopy up the window, you undo the handle and you pour it in the sink. It gets rid of your condensation. Moisture is a major problem. So we do things, that's part of our energy advice in the community. We operate in the wider Canterbury and the West Coast regions. So there are three cornerstones of why we exist, and insulation, heating and ventilation. But the key things around this is how do we create a healthy home? And just bear in mind these things are key to what is ending up providing a healthy home. And ventilation is key, and we'll talk a bit more about that before, but just keep that in the back of your mind. So we do insulation, ceiling, underfloor, and what's called a ground vapour barrier that stops moisture rising out of the ground. We've had situations where insulation has been installed into a house and the people will call us later and say, our floorboards have shrunk, we can see the insulation through the floorboards. And we're going, yep, The reason for that is because the moisture's come out of the ground, swollen up your floorboards, and that shows how much moisture is circulating in your house. We have stopped that happening. Moisture is a huge issue for respiratory illness in this country. Along with that, we do heating. Heat pumps are wood burners. We're currently doing a wood burner work with Environment Canterbury, trying to replace something like 18,000 expired wood burners in the Canterbury region. LED lights, we have our own curtain bank. We do work with MB with their SEEK funding. Again, it's providing things like scoopies and window kits, which I'll talk a bit more about later on. Draft proofing stops the draft getting into houses, keeps the moisture out, energy efficient products, power meters, and again our energy advice service. So we work very closely with the government and government's agency ECA. So the government currently provides in the region of 80 to 90% subsidy for qualifying people to have their homes insulated and heating. Now this program's been running since 2009 and CEA's been engaged with this for a long time. CEA's actually been in existence since 1994 and been serving the community since then, and we've done over 30,000 houses. But the funding from government helps assist getting to those people in most need. The eligibility criteria is a community services card or people living in deprivations 7 to 10. The people must be the owner-occupier and the house must be built before 2008. We don't do council houses under the program or Housing New Zealand. To say that we will do work that doesn't meet these criteria for the general public or for the council, should that need to be done. So we operate in the market as well as serving the needy in our community. And we have been very fortunate in having partners who supply funding, philanthropic funding to us that will top up the government funding so that in many cases we can insulate houses and heat houses for free. Now, Age Concern will tell you that nothing in this world is for free. However, we can do this for free. And I think it's a big takeout that I'd like to get across to the members of the public and the council that this is actually possible in Canterbury and the West Coast, where someone can get their home insulated for free. And if the media were to pick that up, it would be fantastic. But clearly media don't like good news stories, doesn't sell newspapers. So there's a challenge. There's my challenge for the day. So if we go to who our sponsors are, Orion, who you will know well, is one of our major funders, and they've supported us for more than 25 years. So again, this funding helps, and along with Rata and Mainpower, Age Concern, and ECA, all help deliver insulation and heating into homes for those that can't afford to do it. The big takeout for this, of course, is what are the benefits, and the health benefits are something like $3.75 for every dollar invested. So if you want people to stop fronting up to the front door of the hospital, give us some more money and we'll insulate more houses, and that will stop the demand on the health sector. So where does my heat go? So interestingly enough, a lot of people don't understand where the heating goes. So 42% of your heat loss is through your ceiling. So clearly insulating the ceiling is a significant value. 10% through the floor, so we do underfloor, but also the ground vapour barrier stops the moisturising, and 12% through the windows, which is where our curtain bank comes to the fore. So what you can do to do these things: insulate the ceiling, well-fitted curtains, underfloor insulation, and all the other things listed there. So the big killer in our society is dampness in houses, and you'll see many programs in the media around mould being in rental properties. Have a bit of an issue with that sometimes, is that actually if you got up and cleaned it, that would get rid of it, and it's not that difficult to get rid of it. So the use of extraction is really key. especially in the bathrooms and kitchens. Open windows on the opposite sides of the house and let the draft take the damp air out and the clean air in. Remove the condensation and use your curtains. So I have a question for the councillors. Tell me who dries their washing in their house. Put your hand up. Come on, be honest. Every load of washing puts 4.5 litres of moisture into your house. That moisture then creates mould, which is then bad for respiratory illness. So please do not dry your clothes in your house. Buy a dryer. I'm sure on your salary you could afford one.
Don't say that.
But seriously, on a very serious matter, moisture in the home is extremely bad. Black mould is very bad for respiratory illness, and it's probably one of the reasons why New Zealand has one of the highest rates of respiratory illness in the world. We run a curtain bank. Our curtain bank offers curtains for free. I heard that word free again. Remember that we are a community trust and we look after our community. And the eligibility is for anyone. You can come along and pick up curtains and you can be referred through agencies. But this is funded in part by, again, philanthropic funding from Genesis and lotteries. Why do we need curtains? We've been through that exercise. I'm sure we're not going to go through that. And one of the key things that we have started selling is a thing called a window kit. So if you have wooden window frames, instead of going to double glazing at a significant cost, for about $50 you can do 3 bedrooms of effectively double glazing, which is a thin film like Glad wrap that you put around your window frames, and it acts like double glazing. I've done it in my house, and you'll see on the picture the difference between the window that has the window kit on it and the one that doesn't, and the moisture that's on it. And I did it recently on one of my windows, and then left the one window next to it. In the morning there was condensation on the window that I hadn't done and not on the window that had been done. So for those that have got wooden window frames that haven't got double glazing, this is a very cheap alternative, and we supply that to a number of homes, and our MB Seek funding actually provides this to homes for free. The Scoopy, again, is something that we give away for free to homes as part of the Seek funding. All of these products are available online. We do home energy advice service, so that's about going to people's homes, helping them understand how to better use electricity or energy in their homes. This is something which is a huge need, and again the Seek funding helps pay for that. But again, it's one of the things that we do as an important service to our community to help people understand how better to keep their home warm and dry and also reduce their energy costs. And this again is funded by Orion, MB and ECAM. And that's me. Welcome any questions.
You've used up all your time, but thank you very much for bringing it. It's very, very interesting, and I like that window kit thing. Is yeah, it's good. Thank you very much.
Okay, cheers.
Good on you, bud. Okay, I'd like to invite Annabelle and Nikki, who will provide an update from the Central City Business Association.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors. On behalf of the Christchurch Central City Business Association, we thank you for your continued support, and we're pleased to come and present a positive update on the Central City. Today, Nikki and I will briefly update you on the business outlook, safety, member engagement, visitors and events, and our plans for 2024. As you may know, the Central City Business Association is funded via a targeted rate. by our members, and we're currently receiving $210,000. While we remain optimistic about the future, it's really important to note that the current business environment is very fragile. Escalating business costs pose a challenge, and it's vital that we keep an eye on the ball and that public money is spent wisely. Many of our members need to work 6 or 7 days a week just to keep their doors open. We're pleased to report that the safety team contract has been successfully renewed after going out to tender earlier in the year, contributing significantly to the enhanced safety of the central city. The disestablishment of the Colombo Street camp has been a positive step, and our safety team actively engaged with social agencies to address the fragile environment conditions. We've had positive feedback from those previously in that camp since its disestablishment, and they're using fewer drugs and now engaging with the social agencies. Small businesses, especially those with young staff in sole charge, have provided overwhelming feedback, and they've attributed the improved safety to the collaborative efforts, and we are grateful for the Christchurch City Council co-funding this initiative. The support from Council is $244,000 over 3 years via the Better Off funding.
Okay, one of the things that we have focused on this year is member engagement. All our executive are volunteers and we're connected to the members. One of the things that I'm always conscious of, as Annabelle said, is that many of the small business owners work 6 or 7 days in their business a week, and they work extremely hard to make it work. One of our events was our AGM in September, and we had a presentation by about Te Kaha, and the level of excitement and anticipation from the members was really pleasing. They can see it on the horizon and the opportunities that it will bring for Christchurch. We welcomed Andrew Plummer to the executive. Now, Andrew is a small business owner that, much like Annabelle, is working in his business every day and is connected to customers because he's talking and engaging with his customers on a daily basis. We have engaged with members in relation to marketing opportunities, and we have collaboration with various members to highlight businesses through our social media channels, and also an updated website and marketing campaign. Another area of focus and something that's great for the Central City is tourism events and visitors. It's really important for the businesses to have different types of people coming into the city at different times. So we really welcome the cruise visitors. They are fantastic. They bring a vibe to the city on the days that they're there, and there are a number of businesses that really connect with the cruise visitors. Also, tourists are really important, and they create an atmosphere in the city as well, but they support other businesses, so it's really important to have different types of people coming into the city. The businesses really appreciate the cruise ambassadors that have been in the initiative from Christchurch NZ, and they are the volunteers are supported with free parking, with goods and food from the various businesses. And I think one of the great things about the volunteers is that we're really connected and invested in the city, and are very proud of it. And we highly value Christchurch NZ's work with cruises and events. One thing that I understand that Christchurch NZ would like to do is have an Instagrammable sign down the Hack Circle end of City Mall to ease congestion around the Bridge of Remembrance when it's cruise days, because there's a lot of congestion and people waiting for trams, and if we can encourage people to walk all the way up to Hack Circle, and then it would also then filter down High Street towards Cathedral Square. But there'd need to be engagement with the affected parties and the shops and business owners in that area. Looking to 2024, one of the things that we are planning to do is review our strategic plan. It's a 3-year strategic plan, and we will be focusing on the ongoing regeneration of the city and also the important anchor projects that will come on stream. So hopefully in another 3 years it will be an even improved central city.
And once again, we would like to thank you for your continued support. We believe through the collaboration and strategic planning, we can overcome the challenges and continue to make Christchurch Central City a thriving hub for visitors and businesses alike. We really appreciate the council support, especially from John Meeker, Bruce Rendell, Gary Watson and Mary Richardson, especially for their tremendous work in co-funding the security team. Your commitment to ensuring the safety and prosperity of our central city is invaluable, so thank you.
Thank you very much for that lovely good news. Councillor Scandrett.
Hi Annabelle, how are you? Hello.
Hi.
With regards to the congestion at the Bridge of Remembrance, how's it operate with regards with the buses dropping them into the central city? Could they not be spread around because we've got the Te Pai which they could walk through? I mean, I'm just wondering how that works. So I should know, I suppose, but
Yeah, on a cruise ship day, if you do go towards the Bridge of Remembrance, you'll see trams, full trams going past, and then the group at the tram stop gets bigger and bigger. So we sort of welcome anything that helps make it more enjoyable for the residents and the visitors.
Because I mean, there are a number of tram stops. So I mean, maybe it's a question to CNZ, but yeah. But thank you very much, and thank you for what you're doing.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you. A bit of an unusual question. The Hack Circle, did tourists find that confusing at all? Because of course council demolished Hack Circle and there is no longer something that really represents a circle. So we're sending people to a Hack Circle. Are they looking for a circle?
I think
they can't see a circle?
I think we're looking for a placemaking site to make them really essentially move off that tram stop on the corner of City Mall.
I'm just wondering if the name gets confusing for people when they're looking for a circle.
I think it's not actually focusing on the Hack Circle, it's focusing on moving people along City Mall and along High Street, and that's just the name we use for that area. So,
I just mean if they're encouraged to go towards a circle and they're looking for one, not sure where it is because this one's been demolished.
Thank you, Councillor Johansson.
Thanks. I love the name of the Hack Circle. As you may be aware, we set up a working party for 6 months to change the name, and they couldn't come up with anything. And so to call it the Hack Circle is quite good. No, I wasn't on it. But I was just wondering if you had any feedback around car parking in the city and how that's going.
We haven't.
I think parking is a vexed issue. The more people we can get into the central city, the better, and people will there will be people that want to drive in, so we do need car parking.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Okay then.
Recently I was overseas in London and I noticed that there's a proliferation of key rings with Big Ben and all those sorts of things. I mean, do you think there'd be any advantage in us sort of marketing ourselves to tourists with sort of like little iconic key rings with the
like
maybe like the circle, or like the stadium, the cathedral on key rings? Can you see any benefit in that sort of?
I think you could spend your money better.
Okay. That's what we want. Good, honest advice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in, and Merry Christmas, and have the rest of the year off. Good on you. Right.
No.
So I'd now like to invite Audrey and Josiah to speak about the Arts Sector, please. Hello there.
Tēnā koutou. My name's Josiah, this is Audrey. A bit of background around us. We're both freelance artists in Ōtautahi. I'm a writer, theatre maker and educator. Audrey is an artist, curator and event coordinator. Both of us sit on the Toi Ōtautahi Advisory Group, which is a group that advises and advocates on behalf of the Toi Ōtautahi Arts Strategy. Now, this arts strategy is for both Christchurch and Banks Peninsula, and if I just quote from it for a moment, the strategy recognises the impacts of significant events in the city and the role the arts and creativity has in healing, connecting communities, and finding innovative solutions to a range of issues. I just want to note for a moment that the arts strategy is not just for, quote unquote, the arts community, it's for everyone, because the arts is not just for the arts community, it's for everyone. And when we talk about the arts community generally, I just want to note that it's not a vertical structure that operates through kind of traditional hierarchies and things like that. There's often a kind of feedback loop that goes on. For example, in creative spaces and education sectors, people who are teaching are often teaching the next generation of artists who later will often come back and teach, often in those same spaces. There's a kind of circular function to the way a lot of these spaces work. In relation to Toi Ōtautahi specifically, the arts team here have started the Toi Ōtautahi Mentorship Group, which is a great example of doing a lot with a little. So the mentorship group allows for mentorship of people in specific fields within the arts to upskill and connect with professionals in the sector. I can provide more information around that, but in the interests of time, I'm going to jump right on ahead. I was going also to provide a list of a bunch of arts organizations in the city, but that list is extensive, and again, in the interest of time, I'm going to skip past that. Something that we don't talk about often in the arts is the relationship between economics and the arts, and that's something that we just want to provide a little bit of insight around. Firstly, Te Rama Mai is a good example of the intersection of arts, community, and cultural engagement, which pulled in estimated around 100,000 people this year. So you can imagine the kind of economic potential if we really capitalized on that. I also want to note that in the Creative Arts Economic Analysis 2023, it was noted that the GDP output of Christchurch's creative arts sector has grown at almost double the rate of Christchurch's overall GDP since 2017. In the 2022 financial year, the creative arts sector contributed 4.2% of New Zealand's total GDP. As a point of comparison, agriculture contributed 4.6% of the nation's total GDP, which shows that the creative sector is and can be a moneymaker with the right support in ways that we often don't envision. Just as a note, Christchurch's creative arts sector contributed 1.1%, I believe, to the city's GDP, and the agriculture sector in Christchurch is 4.6% as well. In the same 2022 financial year, in Christchurch, 5,690 creative sector employees generated approximately $718 million in economic output. That's a value of around $120,000 per worker. We can see on an audience level the economic demand for the creative arts in the region, for example, in Port Noise Festival Littleton. The festival's in March, which is 3 months away, and the early bird tickets have actually already sold out 3 months in advance. The picture is not just creative, not just economic, it also intersects with well-being. I'm going to hand over to Audrey to talk about that.
Kia ora koutou. Some of you may know me as the art chemist. So me and health and well-being in the arts go hand in hand. I would like to address two key pillars in the Toi Ōtautahi strategy, which are well-being and leadership. So using just a couple of examples from recent events and a fair few quotes from the strategy itself that I think is fantastic. So we know that art and well-being are connected. We know that the arts are central to our identity. We know that arts sustain our well-being, and we know that the arts and creativity underpin innovation and boost the economy. Don't just take that from me. I've got a quote from the World Health Organization, who found that taking part in some form of arts activity helped to overcome social isolation, chronic pain, experience decreases in anxiety and depression, as well as lift confidence and self-esteem. In these cases, those therapeutic qualities have a meaningful and often long-lasting impact on people's well-being. And well-being is more than just fixing things when they're broken. It's about building a solid community to help keep us supported, especially during the ongoing global crises of climate, natural disasters, and war. So we need the arts now more than ever. The arts allow us to process, to heal and connect. Some great examples of this are in late November, the block party took place in the Arts Precinct to celebrate the Year of the Arts. In just one day, the block party hosted 27 events involving 21 different organisations and a slew of local artists. It was a highly visible celebration of our diverse communities and a wonderful example of cross-organisation collaboration. So those collaborations and partnerships are something that I really want to celebrate and thank you for. Partnerships with council and arts organisations have been hugely important, especially in the past couple of years, in helping our creative sector to thrive and get stronger. A key collaboration which I've been directly involved with is the Sanctuary exhibition and creative occupation of Tūranga by Ōtautahi Creative Spaces. We've been working with Christchurch City Libraries and we've shared resources, skills, knowledge, all sorts to benefit over 30 artists who have experienced mental distress. And we have put them in the gallery, we've put them all around the library with various interactions, and this has reached a huge audience that doesn't necessarily visit more traditional art institutions. We're bringing art to the people, and I think that's something really important. Not only do projects like this encourage wellbeing and a wider engagement with the arts, they enable professional development and upskilling within our community. One of the venues that took part in the aforementioned block party was Toi Awaha. This is the building on the corner opposite the museum and the arts centre. Toi Awaha just celebrated its first birthday last week and has become a valuable space for artists to connect, make and learn. And it's right in the centre of the city, something that we've been crying out for since the earthquake, so thank you. This is a community art hub that provides affordable art studios for a range of practitioners, writers, painters, photographers, textile artists, heaps more. It also hosts community events which increase the capacity of the arts sector in the city, which is an investment in creating arts leaders of the future and encouraging people to make Ōtautahi their home. An example of these events, there's Artist Life School, which I've been running in collaboration with Toi Ōtautahi in the physics room. We bring arts practitioners together, do professional development for emerging and self-taught artists. We've also got people like Grace Ryder teaming up with Toi Ōtautahi to run a series of funding workshops and drop-in sessions for local creatives. If we want to continue to build a city, which, and I'm going to quote the strategy here, is audacious, inclusive, empowering and collaborative, this support and partnership need to continue. So that was a really non-exhaustive list from both of us on events that have been incredibly important in enriching our creative ecology to make this city a vibrant and exciting place to be. Basically, we're here today to tautoko what you've already enabled and to highlight the value of arts in our community and to encourage you to keep supporting and investing in our arts strategy so that Ōtautahi will, and this is another quote, be known as New Zealand's best place to live and create, where the arts activate Ōtautahi Christchurch and creative exploration defines who we are.
Excellent work. Thank you. We've got time for one question. Councillor Scandrett.
Thank you. It's always been, and look, thank you for the work you're doing. It's absolutely right with regards to creativity, and it's always been a struggle getting sponsorship. And you just mentioned about a funding workshop. Do you do workshops because with regards to getting professional sponsor with regards to the art and what specific groups can do? Because I know that, you know, you look at, say, an accounting firm, some would say they can be very creative if you've got the right one, but generally they're pretty bland, let's be honest. So, but they've got money.
We primarily, so funding workshops that the Artist Life School has run have been focused on places like Creative New Zealand, community boards, things like that. I think a sponsorship one about how to liaise with businesses would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to take note of that.
Yeah.
But also Grace Ryder's Christchurch and the South Island in general is extremely underrepresented in CNZ funding.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's something that these capacity building workshops are hoping to help to make better.
I should also note that kind of sits outside of our role with the Toi Ōtautahi Advisory Group. That's kind of more related to the kind of broader picture in the city. But one example potentially of somewhere that those kind of things can be supported through Toi Ōtautahi could be through that mentorship program, which is already providing some of that upskilling in terms of funding and things like that as well for people who are being mentored.
Because the funding right across the board for our organisations like ours and all of them is that there's higher pressure now on our funding right across the board. So I think that philanthropic and commercial sponsorship is going to be that much more important. So I think it should be something that should really look at.
Yeah, thanks. We're seeing those pressures in the arts sector as well, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. Thank you. I'd now like to invite Annabelle and Brad, who is online, hopefully, who will give us an update on the New Zealand Opera. Welcome.
Kia ora koutou katoa. No o te tāhia ho ko Annabelle Holland toku ingoa. So I was born and live in Christchurch, and Brad was going to be here, but unfortunately our national air carrier cancelled the flight. So it's great that he's able to join us via Zoom. I'd also like to appreciate Mayor Major as New Zealand Opera patron. We're very grateful and appreciative, and also for the councillors for their work and the funding that New Zealand Opera receives. It makes such a difference, and particularly for me being in Christchurch, it's really important that New Zealand Opera is well represented here on stage and behind the scenes. So I'd like to hand over to Brad, and he'll give you more insights.
Nā mai, haere mai, ko Brad Kun tōko ingoa, tuaho, te tumu whakare o New Zealand Opera, nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you very much, everyone, for allowing us to present to you. I blame the Auckland air controllers, and I would much rather be with you in person. I'm sorry we can't be. Next slide, please. I wanted to share with you some of our offerings in 2024, and this is my first season of programming as General Director. In 2024, we're going to continue New Zealand Opera's journey of recent years, which is making opera which both sings to and reflects us here in Aotearoa. And we're doing a slight change of priorities. We're focusing more and more on community. Opera is the medium in which we work, but we're moving away from the idea that we're importing high European art to the North or South Island, and we're discovering ways of re-engendering energy and connection with our communities. More of that a little later on. Next slide, please. If there's a change from the last few seasons, it would be that we're no longer describing ourselves as a radical opera company, but we're describing ourselves as a progressive one. That means that we are as inclusive as we can possibly be and not doctrinaire. And so we've built a season, including Christchurch, where there are multiple touch points for the works that we present, because we realize that opera has multiple audiences, not just one. Next slide, please. So as part of the diversity that we're offering, we are beginning work on a major community opera project, which we will seed in Christchurch in association with CSO and the University of Canterbury. We're really excited about this because community opera is our way of enshrining our connection with the community in the work that we do. On the main stage, we're presenting something to Christchurch, which is a bit of a naughty one. Again, upsetting expectations about what opera might be. And we are celebrating our past, the past of our art form, while stimulating our future. Next slide, please. We're opening our season in Wellington, but the first main stage production we have is a new setting of Jane Austen's novel Mansfield Park, which will premiere in Wellington and Auckland. But we already have plans to bring this production to Christchurch and the South Island in 2025 or 2026. The idea for this production is that it's highly portable, very scalable, and can travel across the country. So this is in the nature of a seeding round for 2024, and we'll bring it to Christchurch and the South Island in subsequent years. Next slide, please. The main stage production which Christchurch is going to experience is the New Zealand Opera premiere of Rossini's last great comic opera. It's got marauding men, cross-dressing pilgrims, fake holy men, and three-in-a-bed romps. All of those elements are from the original 1828 story, and perhaps that's the reason why this opera has been somewhat neglected over the last 200 years, because it is simply outrageous. Next slide, please. We've got an all Kiwi team of director. Next slide, thank you. Next, Simon Phillips and Tracy Grant Lord are doing a new production for our company at very short notice. both distinguished New Zealand creators. Next slide, please. You can expect this crazy comedy of disguise, seduction, and chaos. It's a bel canto masterpiece, and it's entirely new for New Zealand Opera's work. It has been seen in Christchurch once before, I believe, by Canterbury Opera in 2006. Next slide, please. Ori is an opera in which there is no learning, no moral growth, and certainly no preaching. It's an unabashed celebration of desire, appetite, and sensuality. So that's the main stage production that Christchurch will experience in 2024. Next slide, please. Our final show of the year is Verdi's Rigoletto, which is only in Auckland. So I'd like to speak very briefly to the desire for our supporters in Canterbury and the South Island for more opera from us. We're in the fortunate position of having unsatisfied demand. That is, there is a degree of frustration as to why we're not present in Canterbury and the South Island more. As you would expect us to point out, this is largely a function of the funding structure that we receive from ARAFA, from Christchurch and Wellington City Councils, and from CNZ. We're very grateful for Christchurch City Council's support to enable us to perform in Christchurch. But were the funding to be allocated on a per capita basis and relating to what Auckland give us, it would be more like $150,000 per year than the $60,000 we receive. Again, we're very grateful. We would love to be in Christchurch more, and were the funding available from any source, including philanthropy, which I understand Councillor Scandreth referred to, that's something we're very actively pursuing currently. Next slide, please. So opera with a community heart is one of our new straplines, and we're thinking hard about how we connect opera with our communities. We're reversing it from talking about outreach and talking more about as how can we embed communities into our work. Next slide, please. There are a number of ways that we're doing this in 2024, including Christchurch on the South Island. We have our very active Opera in Schools program. We have Opera in Concerts, Lullaby, a Maori youth opera, which is currently in production and rehearsal. Next slide, please. And in 2025, we will be able to be seeding this new community opera, which will begin rehearsals and preparation in Christchurch in, we anticipate, the third quarter of 2024, but complementing it with more classic works and more new work. Next slide, please. Our new chapter at New Zealand Opera is focused on inclusion, distinctiveness, and defining what sustainability for opera means in Aotearoa. Thank you very much again for your support for our work.
Are you done?
Yes.
Brad? Yeah.
Thank
Hey, thank you, Brad. Wow, what a busy season you've got coming up next year and the year after, and it's certainly you're not letting the grass grow under your feet. That's fantastic, and I'm very sorry you didn't get to see the best airport in New Zealand this morning when you were flying down. Have we got any questions, please? No, everyone seems to be very happy with your presentation. Thank you very much for your effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okie doke. We're now moving on to deputations by appointment. We have a number of deputations who will speak regarding item 6, the stormwater management plan. I'll first welcome Jess and Nancy from Christchurch International Airport to talk to us, please.
Tēnā koutou, everyone. My name's Jesse Amer. I'm an environmental and planning advisor at Christchurch Airport, or as me refers to, the best airport in New Zealand.
Atamari, everyone. My name is Nancy Vance. I'm a landscape architect at Boffamuskel here in Christchurch, representing Christchurch International Airport this morning.
So we'd like to begin by thanking the Council and Paul Dixon in particular for the positive engagement we've had on the Pūhara Kikanui Sticks Stormwater Management Plan. the ongoing management of bird strike in this catchment is crucial to the safe operation of Christchurch Airport, with large parts of this catchment being within the flight paths where planes and birds share airspace. And in this catchment in particular is rather urbanised, with a large number of proposed basins in the western part of that catchment. And we'd like to emphasise that these can be designed for mitigation, and ongoing dialogue is crucial to achieving this. So the airport has really appreciated the ongoing dialogue it's had with the council to date, and has including recognition of bird strike in recent stormwater management plans, such as the Otokaikino, and now in this plan. Incorporating bird strike risk into these documents is making a difference, and the airport has recently been working with several parties to ensure that their stormwater basins are designed in a way that does not increase bird strike risk to the airport. The airport is supportive of references to bird strike within this plan, however seeks that, given it is a rather lengthy document, several additional targeted references to bird strike would provide some additional clarity for users while ensuring consistency with the council's global stormwater consent. The specific wording that is being sought is set out in the table appended to the airport submission, and we've drafted it in a way such that it can be simply copied and pasted into the plan. In short, this includes a new objective that seeks to minimise bird strike risk in the catchment through the location and design of stormwater facilities, along with an action plan as to how that can be achieved in practice, and some additional brief references to bird strike in the executive summary and conclusion, and in chapters 7 and 11. These additions are concise and draw attention to bird strike in a clear yet proportionate manner. I'd like to thank you again for your time, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, excellent. Councillor Templeton, then Councillor Kewen.
Thanks so much for that. What feedback have you had from staff so far on the inclusion of those particular sets of words?
So to date, there's been a couple of minor changes, but other than that, the bulk of the wording that we've sought hasn't been included in the most recent draft plan before you guys.
Okay, and you don't know why not? I guess we'll ask staff that, but you're not quite sure why?
Well, I guess from our perspective is that I think we understand that they think that bird strike is sufficiently referenced in the plan, and we do appreciate the references to bird strike in this plan. They are sort of, I guess, have built on the work that we've been doing with the council through the Otokaikino and previous stormwater management plans, and so there is reference to bird strike in the plan, and we are very appreciative of that. We just think that there's a few more targeted references that could be spread throughout the plan to help, I guess, guide users, considering it is a rather large document.
And what impact do you think that the changes would have for the airport?
So the primary one is just to, I guess, alert users to come and engage with the airport. And so I think from a practical perspective, that would enable more dialogue and engagement and enable us to work with them to design that basin in a way that ensures that bird strike risk is mitigated. So we think that it will have real practical impact.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Kewen, please.
Yes, so just around bird strike, there seems to be a proliferation of Canadian geese in Christchurch. If you go around any of the waterways, there's a ton. Do you have a position on those? Because I think they'll be a bit worse for a jet engine than a sparrow.
I can partially respond to that. I'm a landscape architect, so not an ornithologist, but the design guidelines drafted here are based on Dr. Lee Bull's work, and she's an ecologist that specialises in ornithology. The birds that are most that cause the most risk are the large birds like Canada geese, pigeons, and there was one more, southern blackback gull. They're the ones, and it's shared airspace at those heights that they fly. In terms of increased numbers, I'm not sure. I don't know exactly, but those are the ones that we look for mitigating habitat value for them, and plant selection and discouraging them from standing water bodies or from stormwater first flush basins or wetlands.
Yeah, so are we at the point where we're going to need a more proactive geese cull? Like I'm vegetarian, but more than happy to have a big geese feast every year.
And I'm Canadian and more than happy, but but I that's not my expertise. Sorry.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it would be good to see the numbers because they ruin the waterways. I don't know if anyone else likes stepping in geese, but
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your information. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, next I'll welcome Selena from the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust to the table. Hello.
Hello. Kia ora koutou. I'm Jackie Howard, the Community Coordinator for the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust, and I'm joined here by our lead environmental advocacy volunteer, Selena Coombe. Firstly, we would just like to start off by saying thank you to the Christchurch City Council for their time and effort in preparing this very significant stormwater management plan, as well as for all of our prior consultations with the planners, as well as facilitation from the Christchurch West Mountain Water Zone Committee to help us prepare our own submission. And would also like to thank our amazing volunteers who took the time to put this submission together as well. Next slide. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust, we are a local river care group that's been around since 2002, and we're based off of the Christchurch City Council document, the Sticks Vision 2000 to 2040. And this has 5 key visions. 1 is the creation of a viable spring-fed river ecosystem. 2 is the creation of a source-to-sea experience. 3 is to develop a living laboratory for research and learning. 4 is to make the Sticks the place to be. And the 5th is fostering partnerships. So now we'll move into the main recommendations for the plan.
So the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust strongly suggests that the council consider the following. Stormwater management addresses maintaining and improving the flow of stormwater through the natural waterways, and in this regard, the plan should fund programs for willow control and riparian planting for the mid to lower Puhara Kikinui at a minimum. Wetlands developed or considered a focus to meet goals 1.1 and 2.4 should be monitored for sediment, accumulation of metals, and other contaminants to ensure they remain at ecologically safe levels. Whilst we support goals 1.1 and 2.4 to develop wetland capacity, the plan should include the restoration of degraded wetlands in the Puhara Kikinui catchment, and their primary restoration objectives should be for ecology or biodiversity. In Goal 1.2, although design should conform to infrastructure design standards, the design of new treatment facilities should aim to establish or mimic authentic natural wetland ecosystems that support a representative set of plant and animal species and populations and are well buffered from adjacent land users. Rather than encouraging rain gardens in the plan, we recommend the development of larger downstream systems so that all 6 values can be better provided for, including contributing to buffering the catchment's natural waterways and helping achieve the Sticks to Sea reserve network and walkway through property acquisition for stormwater purposes. Lastly, Goal 1.5 to commit to reducing road sediment should be enacted. Furthermore, Goal 3 include an action plan similar to item 2.4 to proactively develop catchment resilience to copper runoff. The trust strongly supports Goal 5 but recommends that council also work more closely with community groups to build more resilient waterway ecosystems. The trust recommends that Goal 6 include an action plan item to support river improvements such as riparian plantings to increase shading and reduce weed growth. In regards to waterfall reduction goals mentioned on page 73, that this be targeted towards non-native waterfall, such as the Canadian goose, or at least ensure that no action is taken without confirming it does not threaten the ecological value of the Puhara Kikinui. The plan should include litter trash rags or screens at key points of drain inflows to the Puhara Kikinui, while keeping in mind the travel of indigenous fish and invertebrates, especially during spawning seasons. Christchurch City Council set up long-term goals to mitigate climate change and to increase climate resilience in the Puaraki community with the assurance that there will be funding security. The plan should place more emphasis on climate change at the start of the storm water management plan, and in particular the executive summary. In general, Sticks Living Laboratory Trust wants to see more focus on the actions that will be taken to meet the described goals and ensure there's time and money dedicated to achieving the goals in the Christchurch City Council long-term plan.
Thank you very much for listening to that very extensive list of recommendations. We wanted to make sure we made it through all of them. And thank you again, and we're more than welcome to take questions, the remaining.
Okay, we've got one, and Tyler had his hand up, and he's bigger than me. All right, Pauline.
Answer. Do you have any? Thank you. Do you have any idea of the budget required for the willow control in the riparian planting?
So this year we put in about 50,000 plants as a trust. So that's through our Ministry for Environment funding. So it's a 5-year funding program that spreads $4.2 million over the course of that. And the primary part of that is willow control, woody weed control, and riparian planting. And so we have, I think our budget was about $860,000.
Yeah, but you're asking council for some funding?
So our MFE funding is based off of match-for-match funding with City Council's waterway expenditure budget.
Yep.
So the money that we spend should also be matched by council for that.
I'm just wondering if you had an idea what you need.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
Anthony Shadbolt would definitely be able to answer that question. So.
Thank you very much for coming in. Brilliant. And you have a Merry Christmas too.
Thank you.
Good on you.
Too. Thank you.
And our last deputation is I'd like to welcome Sandeep to the table for our final deputation regarding item 14, the potential sale of number 14 Hasketts Road. Welcome.
Kia ora. Namaskara. I'm Sandeep. We are from the Paliaikol Trust. We're a charitable trust operating since 2021 in Christchurch with the aim of building a Hindu hub in Christchurch and Canterbury. Hindu is the most misinformed or misunderstood word for just a faith-based group, but we are a very diverse, multi-ethnic, multicultural group as it is. Just our trust is steered by an 18-member trust board. We come from different countries, not just India. You know, we are from Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India. Our volunteers are from Nepal, Fiji, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand. So we are a very diverse group of people who have come together and trying to achieve this project. As per Six latest, Hindus are probably the second largest group after faith-based group after Christians in New Zealand. But unfortunately in Christchurch or in the South Island, we do not have a common space for all that connects all Hindus together. That's often because they're subdivided between the languages and sub-nationalities among us. So we are working very hard to building the hub for all Hindus in Christchurch and in the South Island. We are also, we're not just going to be about the religion and the faith, but it's more about the community and the unity that it can bring in. Temples and any religious groups, for the matter, has always been very supportive of the national and the local governments. Temples in Auckland has been a great promoter of the COVID vaccines, and Hindus are one of the groups who got vaccinated very quicker than other groups, and that's because of the temples were part of it. There's so much value this project will bring into Christchurch. When you think of tourism, you could think of education, a place of gathering for people, a place of oneness and kindness. We are also, our project will also signify and showcase the common similarities between the Maori traditions and Hinduism, and there's so many that we can show how they are in line, how they speak to the ancestors and to the nature, and how they believe in the same thing, how they try to promote the nature. So we've got this finally contracted land through the council with the help of Bruce and his team at 14 Ascot's Road, which we believe we can add a lot of value to this property. This is our first step. We work very closely with other groups like the Multicultural Council, the Indian Social Cultural Club, and all other subgroups operating in Christchurch, and the whole community has been looking forward to this, and this is our first milestone in our project, and we request the council to consider our proposal. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, brilliant. Thank you very much. Is Councillor Peters?
Thank you. I just wanted to check and hopefully verify whether your trust has, I guess, done all the due diligence around the nature of these properties, and whether you may have employed a noise expert to assess the impact of the Ruapuna noise on that location, and then with that perhaps submitted a report from that noise expert to the district plan team here at council to just ensure that everything's covered off.
No, we had experts in there. We haven't prepared an official report as such. Lot to do with, we are at the moment trying to save every inch of money to buy the land. But we've had experts through our community, through the acoustics. We work in the region of acoustics and engineering. We've been there and we've assessed a couple of events that's happened in Ruapuna and how that affects this property. The wide, I think we've all agreed that it's not going to affect us and to what we are trying to do. And the times of operations will also be a matter for that. It will not affect us to that extent.
Okay, and I guess to take that as a little bit further, are you aware that Ruapuna are not operating at their full capacity at the moment under the district plan?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
So therefore things may change?
Yes, yeah, we've been advised, yes.
Okay,
Thank you. Councillor Kewen, and then that's it.
Yeah, so in your images, which are pretty stunning, the temple's next to water. Is that important, and what's the plan?
The plan is to have a smaller pond.
So
and
like a wee lake?
It's like a small pond, and the pond, the purpose of the pond will also be stormwater retention and firefighting. Helps aid firefighting at this stage. Traditionally, temples would have a large pond, and it's been used for conserving rainwater back in the day. That's why you used to have large ponds, and people used to go to the pond to take water from it. So this is just a representation of that.
Yeah, and with the balance of nature, all of that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you consider somewhere else, like down next to the Avon, for instance? We've got a lot of land in those areas. Was that ever a consideration?
Yes, so the reason for considering Templeton was the large portion of our community lives that part of Christchurch. It's either Avon, Rusley, Riccarton, and quite a large population lives in Templeton, Rolleston.
Right.
And that's Templeton serves as a centre point for everyone. And that's the feedback that we've had. We've looked at land along marshlands and a few other areas, and this was more preferred as it connects the community better.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sandeep.
Thank you so
very
much.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't believe it. We're 4 minutes ahead of time. Okay, so we'll break for a cup of tea. We'll be back here at 11:20 because we have the zone committee chairs and deputies presenting. So please be on time. Everyone. We now start with item 5, the Triennial Water Management Zone Committee update. I'd like to welcome the Water Management Zone Committee chairs and deputies who will give us a 15-minute presentation on their activities. Banks Peninsula, we've got Gina and Trudy. Christchurch West Melton, we've got Annabelle and Mike, and Sal and Waihora, Les and Matt. So welcome whichever way you want to do it.
Good morning. I'm
Morning.
Gina Weibel from the Banks Peninsula Water Zone Committee. Thanks for hearing from us today. I'll take the report as read and we'll focus mainly on catchment groups today. Over the last few months, the Zone Committee has learnt more about catchment groups and the support that is available to them, such as through the New Zealand Landcare Trust and the Y Connection program. This was initiated by Zone Committee member and local farmer Ben Manson, and very much supported by the committee. We feel catchment groups are a good way to effectively support landowners to make improvement to their properties and management practices that will improve water quality. Catchment groups are often effective when they're community-led, with their goals and objectives developed by the group, while still being able to draw support and funding from councils and other organisations. In addition, the committee have in the past felt that focusing our resources on a small number of catchments will be more effective, as we've previously been concerned about projects being too small and piecemeal if they're scattered across the peninsula, especially as water quality improvements are often not realised unless the whole waterway is looked after, kia ora ki tai, from the mountains to the sea. We're also aware that the best buy-in from landowners often comes from word of mouth and by developing relationships one-on-one with landowners, and this is difficult to do when few staff are spread thin over a large area. The committee feel that Wairewa, Little River, is a good catchment to work on because a number of large landowners are interested in taking part. The Wairewa Runanga are on board working with them in partnership, and it's an active, close-knit community which already has a large number of community-driven initiatives such as the Okuti River Restoration Project and the Living Streams Community Nursery. And the catchment is important, with Te Roto or Wairewa, Lake Forsyth, being the only large lake on Banks Peninsula. Wairewa has previously been identified as a priority catchment by the Zone Committee. The lake is one of the most degraded large lakes in the country, and significant work has been done with the canal opening of the lake, as well as significant ongoing work on stabilising and reshaping, planting the banks of the main tributaries, removing willows both to reduce flooding in Little River Township and to reduce phosphorus-rich sediment flowing into the lake. Water quality is improving, but it is still classed as very poor. It is for these reasons that the Water Zone Committee are strongly supporting the new Whakaora Aitiwai Te Pātaka catchment group in Little River. Today I'd also like to thank Council for your continued support of the committee and in passing resolutions this year supporting investigations to improve water quality for contact recreation or swimmability in Whakaraupo, Littleton Harbour. These recommendations included investigations of the stormwater network in Corsair Bay and supporting reviews of signage at beaches and the Lawa website. You will have seen from our reports over the year that this has been a significant focus for us, and in recent months community engagement campaign has been running to help the community understand simple actions that they can help take to reduce pollution in waterways. I'd also like to thank Council for passing resolutions relating to erosion and sediment control, including working more closely with ECAN staff, developing a remediation action plan with best practice approaches for building sites, considering changes to the building site inspection program, and developing a holistic Port Hills management plan. Lastly, I'd like to welcome the new Te Hapu o Ngāti Wheki Rapaki representative, Amber Moak. And I'd also very much like to thank Shelley Washington for her contribution to the committee over the past 5 years. She's been a fantastic facilitator and we'll be sad to see her go, but wish her all the best in her new role as manager for the Rod Donald Trust. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Gina. Got it. Just on Ben's project in Wairewa, so just for my own clarity and for other councillors, so as I understand it, it needs. It doesn't have any money at the moment tagged to it, right? So, like he asked for a $60,000 sort of seed funding, effectively, as I understand it.
So we've recently allocated our action plan budget, which was $75,000 for this year. It wasn't able to be included in our report in the agenda because of timing, but that decision has now, I think, been approved. And so we have allocated $58,000 to that project.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Because it would be hugely important. That lake really needs some TLC, so that's really, really encouraging to hear that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Right. So we. You're fine. Thank you. Just need more water. Hey, Annabelle.
Okay, kia ora, I'm Annabelle Husmanahau, and I'd just like to introduce Claire Fletcher, who many of you probably know, who is Piper, sorry, who is a community member on the Zone Committee, so thank you. So I'm just really just want to highlight the focus points for the committee since we last met, and they've been very busy, and our key focus, as Gina has said, has been around erosion and sediment control and soil conservation. And we've had sort of joint learnings and sharing of information with Banks Peninsula Zone Committee and Whakaora Healthy Harbour. And it's great to see the progress that City Council and ECAN are making around the resolutions that we've put forward. And as Gina said, there's been a huge positive development with the remediation action plan through the City Council, so thank you for that. And also we've had a presentation around the SCAR program, which ECAN runs with MPI, or with soil conservation and revegetation in North Canterbury. And we've made a recommendation that ECAN and City Council should look at implementing a similar program for the Port Hills. Dr. Helen Rutter is a committee member, and she gave a presentation of the effects of shallow groundwater and the predicted impacts of climate change. We're going to have groundwater levels rising with sea level rise. There'll be saltwater intrusion and into tidal zones. And there could be also summer low flows in streams and effects on our springs as well. And Helen really stressed the point that we need to monitor. We need to know what's going on, understand what's going on with ground level waters for the health of our urban waterways. In September, we had a hui around the Community Waterways Partnership, and this was a great opportunity to launch the Pick Up 5 campaign, which was developed with the Mother of All Cleanups and Community Waterways Partnership. If everyone was out on a walk and picked up 5 bits of rubbish at the time, what a difference it would make. And so this was great graphics and a great message that's been picked up by community groups. We also looked at the ECAN do a regional stormwater awareness campaign, and we looked at what are the barriers to other community groups and making that being picked up and really implemented, so trying to get that across the region and everyone behind those campaigns. And Zach Dormer from Lincoln University also gave a presentation on some research that's been done around encouraging first-time volunteers and how you encourage people to volunteer and how you maintain those volunteers. And I think in Christchurch we actually have pretty amazing volunteers, and there's not such an issue, but it's still great tips around that. We have had, many of you were there, so thank you, the Stormwater Superheroes Award, and this was a really successful event in November, and it really highlighted the excellent practice with businesses and land developers around managing their stormwater that's happening out there already. And I just want to say a huge thank you to the City Council and especially to the Mayor, Phil Major, for being there and making it a great occasion and presenting the awards. And I also want to thank Councillor Tim Scandrett for the early conversation and to get ideas and to get how support keep things running for the Zone Committee. So thank you everyone for that. It's a real opportunity to showcase business, and I think it's something that we've now got a template that needs to be expanded and supported, and from a whole lot of different agencies. So I think this is something going forward
for the City Council and for other agencies to look at supporting and creating a bigger event. We've been involved in the ECAN regional policy statement engagement, and the Zone Committee has been involved in the second round of consultation for this integrative planning framework. This is a huge task, but the conversations have been around climate change action, freshwater vision, the main environmental issues of biodiversity, mahingakai and biosecurity. And we also, the regional policy statement will help guide the development of the City Council's Healthy Waterways Action Plan for our 5 city catchments. So we really need to create that linkage of what's going on in these two processes. We have revised our action plan, and we distributed our action plan budget, and a focus became more around climate change in our action plan and pathogens in our waterways. And we allocated our $75,000, and we had a total of 213,000 wanting dollars for that. So it just shows the importance of that, being able to allocate that. And I just want to say, Meri Kirihi Mete. I've said that correctly.
Good work.
Meri Kirihi Mete. And just to, you all have a very happy Christmas and a safe holiday with your families. And yeah. So thank you.
You too.
And,
Thank you very much. That's
and
great.
I do actually, just before I go, want to recognise Shelley Washington and the huge support and what a great zone facilitator she has been for us. So it'll be a sad loss.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
you have a good Christmas too.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got Liz, is it?
Matt.
I'm out, right.
And Marie, that many
Okay,
you know.
Marie, how are you?
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
I just want to start off with some sad news. We just want to wish the acknowledgement of the passing of last week of Dr. Benita Wakefield, who was on the Wairia Runanga, and our representative on the Selwyn Te Waihora Zone Committee. Benita represented Wairia Runanga on the CDMS committees for several years, as well as being on the Selwyn Zone Committee. She was the previous chair and member of the Banks Peninsula Zone Committee and the CWMS Regional Committee. She contributed significantly to the CWMS targets, committee mahi and priorities as well, benefiting greatly from her passion, personality, immense intellect and drive. The Selwyn Zone Waihora Zone Committee is at a loss with her passing, and we send our sympathies to her whānau and to Wairia Runanga. So myself and Marie, we're going to tag team this today. What we're going to try to concentrate on is parts of the catchment that are probably most of interest to you. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Selwyn Whanakeri first. So over the last 6 months, we've had a number of presentations from local schools and Central Plains Water around the mahi they're doing around in our catchments. It was actually really pleasing that they came on the both on the same day, and they actually made connections with each other, where Central Plains was able to provide some additional funding to Green Dame Primary. One of our kind of priority outcomes that we're seeking is kind of building catchment groups in the area, and there's a number already established, but we're looking to kind of help out and facilitate another committee up in Glen Tunnel. And recently we held a community meeting with those members, with those community members, which was particularly well attended.
So I'm here before you on wearing a different hat. I'm Christchurch City Council representative to the committee, and so I'll talk to you about the areas where, which is within the zone committee boundary, but within Christchurch City area. And so we've got the Te Ara Kakariki Kids Discovery Plant Out Day in the Hurutini Holswell catchment. This is a committee-funded project. And so now we have about 400 seedlings planted along the Hurutini Holswell Awa Atemotu Hurutini o Ahuriri site. This one was our ECAN councillor Vicky Southworth and committee member James Booker attended this event. And students have been working at this site since 2017. The event is also supported by Enviro Schools. Matt Stanford from Enviro Schools taught the students how Mana Resources, how Mana Whenua would use the waterways and wetlands in the area to source kai and resources and use mokihi to navigate the waterways. Students made their own rafts using korari or harakeke stems, harakeke and toothpicks. The next one is we have the workshop for a Huritini Holswell bus trip. Last October, we had a workshop held to discuss hosting a Huritini Holswell bus trip at Knightstream School. So just a correction on that first bullet point. It's not Knightsbridge, but it's Knightstream School. And it was well attended by stakeholders and interested parties, including Christchurch City Council and Selwyn District Council staff. The aim of the workshop was to engage parties with an interest in the catchment and come up with a collective purpose for the bus trip. It was concluded that a Huritini Holswell stakeholder bus trip is required to understand the current context, create and tell the story of the Holswell River catchment. The next step is for us to draft up a plan for the bus trip to happen in the new year. And of course, councillors and relevant Christchurch City Council and Selwyn District Council staff will be involved and invited to attend the bus trip.
And like all the other zone committees that presented today, we had $75,000 that we have recently allocated, and you can read on the screen and in the paper who we provided money to. I'm just going to highlight two. One was the Aquatic Bugs Bags project, which is working with Waterways Centre and Enviro Schools to create additional microinvertebrate habitat within the Selwyn River. And the second one is around providing some funding for the bus stocktake bus trip that Maria just discussed, and with the aim of understanding the current context, creating and telling the story of the catchment and understanding what the next steps are for the catchment. And that will hold it there.
Turn that on. That is absolutely brilliant. Sorry, we're just playing around with a bit of stuff up here. So thank you very much for coming in. It's always good to hear exactly what's going on around the Water Zone Committee. So I've got two. I'll do Councillor Johansson, then Councillor Cotter. We're a wee bit over time, but it's important that we hear it, what was happening.
Yeah, great. It's a very quick question. Thank you to all the committees for the reporting back, and I really appreciate the fact that you're reporting back against our Canterbury Water Management Strategy targets. But one thing I note is that those targets should be, or that strategy should be up for monitoring in 2023. Do you know when the new updated report back on meeting those targets is?
I don't know, sorry, but I'm sure we can find out and send an answer back.
Right. And I mean, a kind of general question is, are the zone committees happy with progress against those targets?
I think, that's quite a difficult question to answer on the spot. And I guess the honest answer is probably yes and no. I mean, we're tracking well in some places and in some others, like water quality and changes in stream ecology, probably not. Right. And that's probably true for a large part of Canterbury Plains.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Cotter.
Just quickly, I loved your last slide, the Farmers' Curiosity Day, actually. That was really cool.
Yes.
Because I think farmers need to be recognised for the efforts that they're making to up the game.
Yeah.
But are you presenting to Environment Canterbury as well?
Yes, we do.
You
yes.
do?
And Selwyn
all
District
of them?
Council. Yep.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you,
Merry
all
Christmas.
three of your groups. Thank you. Right, the wee change round that we're just going to have now, because we've got two councillors that need to just shoot out for something. So we'll bring number 9, Better Off Funding for Ferrymead Heritage Park, up now.
We need to receive those reports.
Mover and seconder just to receive.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Need a move. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Scandrick, Councillor Cotter. All those in favour? Do you want to debate it?
No, just very quickly. Can we just get a noting provision to seek advice on when those targets, when the 2023 target refresh is going to...
Yeah.
Cool. I've got a note. Yeah, roger that. Okay. So, all those in favour? Against? Thank you. Carried. Right.
Just, Mayor Phil, I took no part. Just make it noted, I took no part.
Fair enough, too.
I own shares in steam trains. sorry.
So, righto,
I
we're
heard him
going.
say we were doing very confusing.
No, we are going to item 9 right now, and then we will move on to item 14 because Councillor Harrison Hunt and Councillor Templeton have to shoot off for something. I'm happy to second it. Okay. Well, we'll take this read, and Councillor Henstock's got a question.
Thank you. I'm just conscious that the resolution that was passed on the 21st of June included some conditions, and one of those conditions was that there'd be joint funding with the Trust on a 50-50 basis for their operations between 1 July and 31st of December. I don't recall seeing anything in the paper about that 50-50 funding for operations, and apologies if I've missed it. But can you share that information with us, please, and perhaps confirm that that particular condition has been met?
Yeah, we have been in touch with the park fortnightly for the last 6 months. They've sent through all their financial reports monthly, and for operations they're contributing more than 50% of what we provided, and that's been ongoing throughout, and then for the implementation of the business plan also.
Thank you. I have a second question.
Yeah, fine.
Thank you. The second question really relates then to how those funds are being used, and I'm conscious the resolution said the funding was used to accelerate or enhance their projects or operations. So my concern is that the funding's actually propping them up rather than enhancing or accelerating. And in para 3.2 of your report, it says the second tranche of funding will allow the park to operate. And so I'm aware that the Trust has asked for funding in our long-term plan round of $1 million per annum, and conscious that there's extreme pressure on the public purse at the moment and no guarantee of that funding going forward, although yet I recognise it's yet to be considered. So the question for me then has to be asked is whether this funding is futile, and perhaps to put it another way is, are we just throwing good money after the bad and delaying the inevitable? I'd really appreciate your thoughts on that, please.
It's a good question. The request for the long-term plan, I don't believe, has been submitted, and it's what they intend to bring to the long-term plan engagement. Certainly, from the money we've provided so far through the first tranche, we set what we thought were very high expectations of the park. Reviewing the governance structure, the operating model, increasing attendance, which was a key part of it, partnerships with the cruise ship and gondola, working on their partnership with iwi. To probably our surprise, they've achieved all of those and have shown really positive signs, which is why from within the 400,000 that was allocated in June, we're recommending a second tranche. Certainly, the long-term plan considerations will have to be considered. The risk is that if this wasn't awarded, their operational money would be really at risk, and they'd be really quite stuck.
In the event that $1 million is not approved, or there's a sum that's less than that, what confidence have you got that they're going to be able to continue to operate?
To continue to operate, high confidence. It's whether they would be able to enact all of the plans that they're working on currently is where it would start to become tricky. They've got very ambitious plans for where they see the park going. If they didn't receive the $1 million in the long-term plan, they probably wouldn't be able to do a majority of those, but they would certainly be able to continue to operate.
Thanks for that, Josh. I'd really like to see them have every chance of success. Thank you.
Councillor Harrison Hunt.
Kia ora, Josh.
Kia
ora. I have a question in regards to the impact on mana whenua, which is 0.6.6, and in a part of that it said, while the park have indicated a commitment to improving their mana whenua partnership, specifically Ngai Toa Huriri and Ngāti Whike, it is unknown at this stage how this may manifest. Now that was one of my requests in one of our briefings around improving that relationship with mana whenua. For one of the reasons why other funders actually want to promote biculturalism. Can you talk to me a bit about what they've done in that space?
Relationships are take time to form, and I think they've acknowledged that their relationship with both hapu has not existed really in any level. So of the 6 months they've had, I think about probably 3 or 4 months ago they indicated that they were approaching in a very gentle way to those two particular hapu, and were starting to build relationships. I don't think they were able to comment too much on how that would affect their business, because the relationship hasn't reached that point. As it relates to how other funders might consider it, it's probably years away from being at that level. But it's good to see from our side of things that they are considering it. They're working on that.
In terms of the operational standpoint, and thinking about that, particularly with like rata funding, who always want to push that biculturalism model, wouldn't that be one of their top priorities to be able to continue to not only build that relationship with mana whenua, but actually try and acknowledge the more previously historic side of things to improve their operational outcome?
Yes.
So then, where in this would we be able to maybe assist them, even with these relationships with mana whenua, particularly Ngāti Wheke and Ngāi Tuahuriri?
It'd probably be in their new governance structure. Previously, the structure was to have a trust and a company that were on equal footing. They're revising that so that the trust sits above, with an advisory panel that supports the company below. But some support in their governance in that relationship space would probably be where
Can I just suggest that in the newsletter that they sent out, which I distributed, I don't know if you had time to read it, but they've got 3 projects to improve their park, and they're building their competence strategy, good governance to Ao Māori, and environmental sustainability. Those are their 3
Oh yeah, I read it.
pegs.
I read it.
And so I think this alone, and recognising who they are and where they're from and who actually was vital to that land at the beginning, is a huge step for Ferrymead, personally. But I just thought I'd chuck that in.
I think it's probably something that we can look at internally and have a word to someone you know quite well, and see if there's something that we can do to assist. Because I think that's what
we
you're
might
asking.
be able to help
How could
bolster
we help them
through our channels and through the ways that we're doing it, to help bolster it for them to be able to rely on other funders to be able to continue the operation of the park.
Just thank you. A good question from me, guys. With B on there, we're saying that look about their sea level rise and emissions. It's a steam train. Are we likely to be putting conditions on them that means they won't be able to start them up? And when it says consider, that doesn't mean you have to do it. Just look at it, doesn't it? We're not putting them to onerous thing.
Correct. And the distinction here would be that we're asking this of the Ferrymead Trust and not of the STEAM Society specifically. Yes, but it's a consider and to work into their planning about how they look at this.
I think it's also about where they are. And I don't think they had any consideration around what that land might look like in the next 30, 40, 50 years. And so it was more of we want them to think long term about that type of thing as well.
That's cool. So that'll do questions. Any debate on this? I don't think there will be. We have a mover and a seconder. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. Carried. Brilliant. Yes. Now we'll shoot on to item 14, please, Tyler. Is that right? Item 14, before you... And then it's no rush to get back or whatever you want. Sorry, drop unit. But
No, that's all right. That's all right. It's my job. I'm here today to present our very first youth portfolio lead report. The portfolios require us to report every 6 months, but there are a few things that I needed to sort out in regards to our relationships with our stakeholders and our partners before I actually presented this. And the reason why I'm doing that is because we're talking about a memorandum of understanding with the Christchurch Youth Council, and that's detailed in Attachment A. There is something around the Smoke-Free Environments and Regulated Products Act amendments which are currently being planned for repeal, that I'd actually hope that the council would support in not repealing that due to the health risks and the many organisations that back the data that supports not repealing this, and also talking about Te Paipakari and the future of it. So Te Paipakari was a standing committee of council. It was kept alive in one of our first meetings that we had by a great deputation by Anne Galloway, Councillor Anne Galloway, who has done some amazing work in the youth space and pilot. And then lastly, in number 5, we have just some noting amendments. So there is quite a lot of reporting and of reports noted in these attachments. There's around 8 or 9. But within the report, I just want to highlight a few things. And in these you'll see on number 4, 4.1 is around the Christchurch Youth Council and who they are and the value that they provide to council as our partners. I actually went to their AGM last night, a phenomenal one. They reappointed a new exec. They're so keen and they're so excited to get into the mahi. And then there's also some other things that are really beneficial to council too, such as Rerenga Awa, who are the Canterbury Youth Workers Collective, who contract youth audits around our city. Now, they provided youth audits in the Multicultural Centre on Hagley Ave and also in Te Kaha. Now, the thing that surprised me with these youth audits is you'd think that you'd get a bunch of kids in the room. This is just me, by the way. You get a bunch of young people in the room, and you'd expect that they'd provide tips on things that matter to youth. Like, oh, it'd be great to have a cinema here, and it'd be great to have a PlayStation over here. That is not what they said. They reported to say that the colours in the building are not welcoming to them, that they're dark, they're dim, and they provide somewhat of a feeling. They talked about the lift and the functionality of the lift for people who are needing more accessibility. They talked about their ability to enliven spaces by having communal hangouts outside of the Multicultural Centre and many other things that didn't affiliate to PlayStations, games or vaping, which many people talk about. I'd also like to talk about the work that YCDU do, Youth and Culture Development, and working with our rangatahi across the city. And we do a lot of work with them around the pool parties, around the Christchurch Pop Summit, and many other things to do with youth. We also fund them through our Strengthening Communities Fund. Now, I also wanted to talk about Te Whare Awhiro and the Hope House Youth Report. And there are some things around this which are not surprising to me, but they are could be surprising to a lot of other people. And you'll notice that in the media, no offence to the press that are in the room right now, but youth have been put into a really, really bad light, particularly around youth crime as of late, which is actually slowly dwindling down, but also painting everyone with the same brush. Now, in page 335, 4.5.1, it actually has the top 6 issues that youth face. Now, I wanted to highlight these because they are not new. They are very, very similar to the days of old, particularly when I was around. But they are elevated due to the higher use of social media, of phones, of technology, and the advancement of technology. Now, they feel like they have a lack of community engagement, lack of connection. Their mental health is really tough. There is a generational gap that they feel, and that is, Dame Sue Bagshaw said that's not new. Socrates said it. It's not new. And the pressure that they face actually from academic, social, and excessive pressure from their friends and from their parents is becoming exorbitant. And lastly, they wanted to be accepted, and they feel like the acceptance has a profound role in the way that they develop, particularly around the way that our parents treated us as young people, and that has changed today too, and also the way that society accepts them. Now, that is a massive highlight for young people, and particularly with media attention, they feel like they are going to be alienated. Now, the last organisation I want to highlight here is because they are going to be coming up in the long-term plan, most likely, is Dame Sue and Phil Bagshaw's Youth Hub. Now, I have provided links in every single one to be able to get everyone to see what the amazing work they do. The Youth Hub is going to be something that's ginormous. They're currently going through stage 1 and they're currently fundraising for stage 2 of the project. Now, the Youth Hub is a city's first youth hub that's designed for rangatahi, for mental health, for well-being, for social housing, to be able to make sure that if you're coming from somewhere of deprivation, then you become an awesome member of society who has a full-time job and a whānau of their own. Now, in the smoking and vaping part of this, which is number 7, the Mayoral's Forum have supported this act in the past. So therefore, it would be awesome if we can continue to support that kaupapa as the Mayoral's Forum have. And I have also attached that within the program. Now, there's data that's across the board, and I'm going to take the report as read. But these are the recommendations that I have as a youth portfolio holder, and I really appreciate everyone's time. Kia ora.
Thank you. Has anybody got any questions towards this? No. So I dare say Tyler may want to move it. You think? Yep. Sorry, Councillor Barber. Yep.
Thanks for that, Tyler. Is there any way that there could be more attention and highlight brought on to the amazing things that youth do in society? For instance, I think we were all blown away, or I certainly was, by the student army, volunteer army during the earthquakes and afterwards, and also some of the groups that go out and do eco-action, who do plantings. You know, are there things that you're seeing that we're not, that we can bring to the attention of the general public, you know, to enhance the image of youth in our society?
Absolutely. And it stems from localism, actually. So if you're a part of a local community, such as, for example, Hornby High School, and there's parents that are involved with them and the community's involved with them, they get highlighted quite a lot on the local pages, on the local Facebook groups, other than the negative stuff that severely outweighs it. The positive stuff tends to be hidden and pushed down. So I'd really like to encourage us to continue sharing the amazing work that we see from our high schools, particularly. Hornby High does an amazing job in terms of the principals sharing the awesome work that they do. While also actually bouncing back at the rhetoric that people put on social media. And it's really important because the kids see it. Our young people see it. They see all of the bad comments, negative comments on social media. So it'd be really important for us to bounce back wherever we can, particularly if it's our own platforms. That's just us as elected members, and continue to raise our young people. And I would like to see us maybe involving ourselves in Te Pai Pakari in some way, shape or form, showing face, being present, even talking to some of our young people who may be in our wards and seeing what issues that they face, because face-to-face is the most effective way to deal with our young people. And lastly, engagement requires very, very little resource for young people. When I was working in Selwyn, all I needed was a barbecue trailer and some snags to be able to get 1,800 survey respondents. That was literally $85 for me to be able to get all of those respondents. We go to them, we give them some kai, we say thank you so much, we really appreciate that, and we move it on. Really, really simple mahi. It doesn't take $30,000 of engagement budget. It takes a couple of $100 to get a few thousand in high schools. As long as we're there face to face, we're sweet as. We're good to go.
Councillor Cotter.
Thank you. Excellent report and really, really interesting. So kia ora for that. I'm looking at 4.8 and your insight into the current state of sport for rangatahi. And you're saying that the relationship between rangatahi and organised sport is weakening quite significantly, which is a big concern. This is affiliated to the seriousness of the sport once it gets to a certain age bracket. So I'm wondering what the age bracket is, and I'm wondering what are the barriers. I know you've mentioned deprivation, but I know that in Shirley and McFarlane Park they've got great programs where the youth come along and just organise themselves into teams. There's no competitive kind of thing. It's just, so do you have any comments on barriers that we could try and perhaps address for this? And what is the age group where they drop off?
Sure. If I refer to something we see all the time at Shirley School, those hoops have been replaced so many times because they've been used so much. The same goes for Wharenui, by the way. Wharenui School, the hoops are just absolutely munted because everyone's using them because it's informal. It's their mates texting and saying, hey, let's catch up. The age bracket's actually around year 11 to year 13.
Oh, really? That young?
Yeah. As in, fifth form to seventh form.
Yeah.
So that age bracket is when they start dwindling away. Year 9 and 10 is sort of where they have their fun time and they start working their way towards first 15, first 5, first 11. But then year 11 to year 13 is really where it starts heading home. And they do want to have more informal catch-ups. They want to have shoots on their local court. And to be honest with you, I can give you the answer now, which is actually providing nets on our hoops around our council facilities. A basketball net or a football net is provides so much more impact, and it's low cost. And it's because they have to go and chase the ball when they go and kick it into the football goal. And the basketball net, it's really easy for them to retrieve the ball. It saves so much time.
So could we put something in here that we get staff to have a look at that?
I'd love to.
I don't know how we'd word it, Mary, something very relaxed to say that...
To what, by nets?
No, to have a look at perhaps the stock take around the parks on the hoops, the net. They are really
Surely
important.
every community board with the DRF funding that we gave them can easily do that
Yes,
themselves.
if they can get the information, that's what I'm getting at. Perhaps through the community.
It's council hoops though. We don't currently replace nets on council hoops.
Sorry.
Okay, taking
Sorry,
it.
Mary.
Right. No, Councillor Johansson, your shot.
I was just going to kind of similar question, obviously having the sports promotion portfolio, and I think it's a really interesting report. But I'm just trying to pick up how do the things in these reports, the recommendations for next steps, get captured and put into our LTP process?
If there are things that you want to propose, if you use the standard process of putting them through the system so they can be captured in the system.
Right. Okay. So because these are mainly operational sort of management, I mean, they're more like, they're not reports that come formally to us, apart from Tyler's, obviously attached in his report. So picking up on the stuff around Linwood, Hornby, bus lounges, is there sort of a review by staff of these reports that will then help us inform the LTP, or should we just pick things out ourselves basically and push them as amendments?
We will have a look at it and can come back to you, but if there's particular things that you want looked at, it's good to put it through the system.
Okay, and I'm happy to work with Tyler in that sports participation because I do think that's a really important thing that we need to address.
Let us please be not. Sorry, Tim.
Could I?
I
think this is. So, let's just get the information from staff about the nets. We don't need a report. All we need is an email and a memo with regards to why this happens, to get a better understanding of why we don't put the nets, etc., etc. That would be the first step.
Because if we're not careful, we'll spend, I'm not saying take anything away from staff, we'll spend more on the report than what the net will cost. So just...
We can do it through our community boards.
Okay, Councillor Moore, please.
Sorry, we can't necessarily actually do it through our community board, so I've sought that advice through our community board already. So it would require presumably a citywide policy change.
We can't get information.
So just to clarify,
Okay.
we've
On
taken
nets,
a note.
we don't pass it to
We've got a note,
community.
we'll get back to you. Okay, so Councillor Harrison Hunt is the mover and the seconder is Councillor, what's your name? Kogo. Right, is there any debate? Councillor Johansson?
Oh yeah, just very quick, I just want to acknowledge the work that the councillor has done on this. As someone who used to be on the Christchurch Youth Council, it's great to see that we're reinvesting into that relationship. I think it's hugely beneficial to have a youth council as a city, and I look forward to working with the youth sector and with the local councillors around a lot of the things that are in this very comprehensive and detailed report. So thank you for the hard work that people have done on this. I think it's a good step forward, and I look forward to it.
Councillor Barber.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge the work done by Tyler in the report, and I'd like to encourage us all to seek out stories of youth doing really positive things in our community. I just had a thought of the St Bede's school. They raised $100,000 every couple of years for canteen, and I think there are probably lots of things going on like that around the city that we can perhaps highlight a bit more to create perhaps a more positive perception of youth. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will ask Councillor Cotter to say something.
Just really quickly. Look, the sport thing really captured my attention, and I went along with Councillor Henstock to the National Students Athletics competition at Ngāpunamai on the weekend, and you know, just seeing those kids, and they all look so healthy, and there was hundreds of them. Now they're competition sport, but it was fantastic to see, and that really does help to counterweight the negative image that sometimes the youth get. But it's that targeting that non-competitive area of sport, keeping kids active without having to get to that level, where a lot of them drop out if they don't get to that level. So that's where I'm coming from, where we need to get volunteer programs going. So, and I really actually totally agree with what you said, Councillor Barber. We've got to help change that image and bolster the positives in our youth, because we've got some great kids out there.
Okay, we've got all this positive stuff happening. I would like to now put this motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you very much. That's carried. Brilliant. It's right on 10 past for you to head away. Good on you. We will now shoot back to item 6, the Styx Stormwater Management Plan, please. Welcome. The floor is yours.
I'll give you a very brief. Soundbite of where a stormwater management plan comes from. I hope it'll be different from a soundbite I've given to you previously. When the council was in the process of applying for a renewal of its stormwater discharge consent in 2018, a little bit before that actually, we had extensive consultation with Environment Canterbury and Te Runanga o Ngā Tuahuriri, and it was understood that it'd be necessary to make significant gains in or reductions in the amount of contaminants that went into our rivers. So by agreement, the council went to the hearing with a program of constructing stormwater treatment basins and wetlands that would both cope with anticipated growth and would redress the existing situation to some extent. It's sufficient to make improvements, and those gains were locked into consent conditions as standards. So the consent conditions required the development of stormwater management plans to say how gains would be effected, and they applied a number of conditions as to what the stormwater management plans would look like. The program of basin construction went into the long-term plan, into the capital program, in a series of SMP construction programs. So what is in the stormwater management plan we're presenting to you this morning for adoption is almost completely determined by consent conditions and the long-term plan. Consent conditions say what it looks like, and the long-term plan says what comes out. It's unfortunate. Well, it's a fact of that not everything that some submitters would like to see the council do are possible, because they're not provided for in a stormwater management plan. However, some of those things are provided for in other programs the council is doing. For example, a Healthy Water Bodies initiative. So perhaps that will help to describe why some submitters are submitting as they are, and have perhaps put to you some of the points they have done.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I asked Paul to give that brief explanation, because we saw quite a list, for example, from Sticks this morning. And that's not to say what they're asking shouldn't be done through other programs. It's just not part of the stormwater management plan process. So it was just so you sort of put a handle on that.
Thank you. I've got a couple of questions to start off with. Does the work start on this in 2007, or am I misreading something?
On the plan or on something else?
What? Sorry. Roughly, how long has this been sort of in train? Because in this bit, there's 200 pages. That's a phenomenal lot of work.
I mentioned. I think we started thinking about the consent renewal in 2016, but we've been working on the stormwater management plan for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, that's cool. And we had a wee chit chat from the airport this morning.
Yes.
Are they happy with what everyone's playing the game? You're happy? They're happy?
I believe the airport said that they would like some extra things in the stormwater management plan. Our relationship with the airport and what we provide on their behalf is one of the conditions. We have more than complied with that. The airport, I think they misunderstand what this plan is. They would like us to add an additional objective in the plan to deal with bird strike management, and staff didn't agree with that because, first of all, the plan is a compliance plan. It's not a policy plan, and that would be the only objective in the plan. So, and it wouldn't be central to the purpose of the plan. So, for that reason, we declined to add the objective they requested. However, we have a chapter and an appendix with bird strike management advice and actually I think advice is the best word. Yes. Which people can be referred to and follow.
Oh no, that's really good. That's really good. Now, Councillor Kewen.
Yeah. So just on the bird strike one on the geese, what are we doing and what are we going to do? Because if you go down the sticks, especially up in the reserve part, the geese are making a mess of the situation. So
can't comment exactly what we're doing, but I know that our rangers work closely with the airport and other agencies in terms of bird numbers. I'm not sure whether...
Because in this whole zone...
GM sitting over there might be able to make...
I don't see gulls or pigeons being a problem, but the geese are, and they flock, and they fly in flocks, and I've seen them fly through the flight path.
Yes, birds do fly in flocks, you're quite correct. Look, there is a really active program between ECAN...
Not all. The kiwi, I've never seen that fly in a flock.
Doesn't fly the kiwi, as far as I know. A really active program with ECAN, the airport, our rangers, and there's obviously huge awareness of the increase in numbers, particularly of Canada geese. It's quite a complex issue. There are management processes going on right across the city. So it's an active situation that everyone is trying to manage.
So are we actively doing a cull?
There is an annual cull, yes.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, but it's sort of outside of the stormwater management plan.
No, you did right. You did right. Okay, Councillor Peters, please.
Kia ora. Thank you for the rather hefty work that this is and all the work you've done. Just wanted to check on behalf of Councillor Harrison Hunt that the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust feedback has been fully taken into consideration, and has it been built into the plan?
And it's been taken into consideration. However, the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust in general have asked that the SMP include things which would be done through other programs, and that's assuming that the work is funded. They made one request regarding the SMP, which is that wetlands be treated in a certain way to enhance their acceptability to wildlife, and that's we generally try to keep wildlife out of treatment wetlands because they accumulate contaminants and they're just not a good environment for wildlife. So in Sticks Living Laboratory Trust is they've made a nice submission, and we fully agree with them, but the SNP itself can't really accommodate what they've asked.
But there are other programs of work and funding, and they're very successful in securing funding from Ministry for the Environment on a lot of their work as well. So it goes hand in hand, but it's still not part of this process.
Thank you.
Okay, and hang on a minute, Councillor Johansson, I'll have just asked a question. Brent, when this goes ahead, right at this particular point in time, we wouldn't be able to build any of these things because ECAN has still got their problem with water take, and I understand it's pretty damp out there anyhow.
We have been successful in building and consenting some treatment basins. I believe there was one in the Cavendish area. It's a little more difficult at the moment. I don't know. Can you make any comment on it, Paul?
No, I can't.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm not trying to throw you under
it'll
the bus.
be a case by case basis around design and size and that sort of thing. Yeah, I spoke to our colleagues at ECAN the other day, and they're following the Supreme Court decision. They're putting their heads to working out the way forward for it.
I just got it out there. Okay, Councillor Johansson, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you. I just was wondering if there was anything in the submissions that is not currently funded in the LTP that we felt would be a good idea to look to include in the LTP.
Yeah, well, there's already program line items in there for delivering on the stormwater management plans, and like with many other areas, some of it is the need is driven by growth in the areas as well. So at this point, I would say no until we get this through the next phase, which is off to ECAN, and discuss what their feedback is on it as well.
So if submitters want us to do more, noting that the recommendation is to go for the lesser of the two options, then they could submit through the LTP, and we could choose to do more through that process.
Oh, yeah, anyone
I
can
hate
submit.
to contradict my my head of department, but I believe that my team leader who would like to say, can we get back to you on that, please? Because we are thinking about those things.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okey-doke.
Anyone can submit though, Councillor.
Councillor Cotter's very happy to move, and Councillor Kieran is second it. Councillor Kieran's happy to second it, so there's been no. Yep, we're all good. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. Carried. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Item 7, I'm happy to move it, and Councillor Barber's happy to second it. There will be no discussion. There will be no debate. Questions? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. Who said that? Carried. It's not. It's not the rec ground in Littleton. Okay, so you want to say no? Okay, Councillor Fields. Thank you. So we'll go to item 8, Suburban Regeneration Biennial Report. Welcome.
Good morning.
Fire away.
This biannual report outlines implementation of suburban regeneration projects funded and actively progressed in the last 6-month period of April through to September 2023. It's structured around the currently agreed higher priority suburban regeneration locations, as shown on the right of this slide. More detailed information on the implementation of both the master plans and also community-led plans can be found on the Council's Suburban Centres master plans and community-led planning web pages. A large number of council teams and also external organisations, Christchurch NZ, Life and Vacant Spaces and the Green Lab, have contributed to this report and to the various projects that it canvasses. The responsibility and credit for suburban regeneration projects also rests with private developers and with the community, as you can see on the left-hand side of the slide. So I'm just going to run through a brief 5-minute presentation regarding some of the highlights from the report, after which my colleagues and I can answer any questions or alternatively come back to you if necessary. Projects commenced, progressed or completed in the higher priority suburban centres within that reporting period are shown here. In New Brighton, demolition of the former Westpac building at 56 Brighton Mall began in September, ahead of the future extension to Orem Ave. Once the building is down, the site will be developed as an interim pedestrian walkway, beautified and activated with the community. In the Wood Village, the installation of an interactive artwork is underway on Doris Lusk Reserve. It's called Pumping Station Perspective, and it pays homage to the artist that the reserve was named after, and is in fact designed by her two granddaughters, Natasha English and, Natasha Mehari and, Natasha English and Titania Mehari, sorry. The artwork uses metal tubes that make portholes and pumping station shapes, which, when you view them from the associated paved lookout, bring the portholes and the pumping station together into a work that resembles the famous painting, The Pumping Station by Doris Lusk. And it's been designed in such a way that you can even sit in the window and frame yourself into the picture. In Bishopdale, resource consent's been granted for a refurbishment of an existing multi-use commercial building. It involves both internal and exterior alterations, the building being the one that was formerly occupied by Mighty 10. Projects in the other master plan locations are shown here. And the range of them well illustrates that the responsibility for project delivery and urban regeneration in suburban centres is shared across public and private sector parties. And since completing this biannual report, the resource consent application to convert what was the Redcliffe supermarket building into a new apartment complex, as shown in the top left-hand corner here, has been granted. And although not shown here, two other projects have been completed, the Coastal Pathway, which of course was opened recently, and the Te Pātika Ōrākei Hotu Banks Peninsula Destination Management Plan has also been finished. Projects advanced in other suburban locations include the spatial plan to identify future land uses on the council-owned site at 27 Hunters Road in Diamond Harbour. This may include a designated character school, Te Pā Ōrākei Hatu, on the middle spur of the site. Urban regeneration projects are also underway in areas where the community has developed their own community plan, including the trial and successful completion of the dog park that was identified as an action to be sought through the Little River Big Ideas community plan. And also throughout the city, various initiatives have been supported by Life in Vacant Spaces and the Green Lab, and also received funding through the Place Partnership Fund, the Enliven Places Rats Incentive, and Shape Your Place Toolkit funding. These range from the annual Christmas parade in New Brighton, which occurred over this weekend just past, to a backyard resilience workshop in Linwood Village, and to an environmental hub on the Kapitahi Reserve in Uruhia. So there's been a lot of good things being delivered by good people across the city. And would you have any questions?
Thank you very much. Councillor Cotter, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Who was going to move it as well, I believe.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Very happy to do that. The suburban master plans, did I see that the funding is gone for all of those? It's disappeared? Or is there still funding? in the LTP?
So the decisions on what is in the draft LTP have yet to be finalised through yourselves. So we know that there's a lot of pressure on budgets at the moment, and some difficult decisions may need to be reached.
Okay, so it is up for, I think it might be just going under the radar a wee bit, that one. Bruce, have you got a comment there?
I thought that was an excellent answer.
Yep. Okay, thank you. And I'm just noticing that you'll notice in here that the Edgware Village, which the master plan there was pushed out because the businesses were just about going broke with all the construction works with the post-earthquake multi-year drainage repairs, and then with the installation of the cycleway they couldn't tolerate any more construction for a while. But I notice it's just about dropped off completely. Is there any plan to kind of connect with the community there and pick up some options of what they would potentially want there?
I believe there's some funding that is available this year that's currently sitting with the board for any decisions around how that might be used. There was the 50k that was brought forward from the substantive amount for the streetscape works. I think there's around 30,000 still remaining in that
I think
budget.
they used 20,000 to light a tree that didn't work very well because you can't tell it's lit. But so it's a little bit, but of the 2.3 million or something, where's it got? I mean, is there any plan for more?
I think we'll have to take that on notice, Councillor, and do some research on that, and we'll come back to you.
Okay, and one more question. Sorry, the city making partners. Is that what it's called? You got something there for Māori Ho St Albans. What's that? In one of the slides, that one there, city making partners projects, Māori Ho St Albans.
I think there was a worm farming workshop held in conjunction with the Marihau Community Garden.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Johansson, and then Councillor Henstock, and then we're voting.
I saw that it says that there's been some work done around Sydenham. It says Sydenham, Christchurch has a progressive vision and framework for transforming the wider Sydenham and Lancaster Park area into a green and thriving future mixed-use neighbourhood. Did that include Phillipstown?
Again, I think we'll have to take that on notice because we didn't do that work ourselves. We'll follow up and get a response from Christchurch NZ to provide to you, Councillor.
Okay, and is there a gateway where we get, I'm just not sure what the process gateway is to get areas investigated in terms of either Christchurch NZ or that urban development?
Come and have a chat to me.
Okay, and just wanted to check, in the report, I didn't see the information around the FR3, which is the Ferry Road pedestrian transport crossing, but on the website, it says that project is currently underway. Do we have a time frame for it?
I'd have to come back to you with details about that.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Right, thank you. Councillor Henstock?
Thank
We
you.
need
Just
to move on.
In relation to the Bishopdale Mitre 10, thrilled to see that taking some progress. Have you got any eyes over a timeline there for that redevelopment?
I don't. Sorry. Do you have anything on that?
Happy to take that offline.
Stages building consent, which I believe they haven't applied for yet.
Okay, who would like to second this? Councillor Scandrett. Okay, no more questions, no debate. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you very much. That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item 10. This is just giving some money away, and who is moving this? Councillor Peters, and it's seconded by Councillor Barber. There's very, very clear what's happening here. Has anyone got any questions? Councillor Johansson?
I just had a question which I put through about Kingdom Resources, just noting that they had not got funding from other funders because it was due to funding from government for other projects. So that was the lottery's decline, and also that MSD does fund them. So I was just trying to understand why we're recommending to fund them. and how it compares to the other budget advice services that we're funding.
There's a few questions. Sorry, kia ora, John Slaughter. There's a few questions that you've asked, but Josh actually looked into this yesterday and he's done my job for me, but a very detailed reply to that. And so the first question was about the lotteries or the government. What was your
as we went through this year's Strengthening Communities, we took quite a strict line on ones that were funded by government as not being our core responsibility.
Sure. So government funding MSD is supporting only one aspect of that organisation's process, and these matters are quite different. They're quite different. These are around budgeting services. The pilot matters that are coming through. They're looking at they're all listed there anyway. But the MSD funding only relates to pre-employment course for women seeking support into the workforce. So that's the only funding they get in a very narrow area.
Right. Okay. Sorry. The other question was, how does it compare to the other beneficiary, the budget advice groups that we've funded in terms of quantum?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because we tried to figure that out, and we can see other agencies that are involved potentially in this type of business, but it's hard to say how much that. So, for example, the Christchurch Methodist Mission, they get funding, but how much of that goes towards budget, we don't know. It was really hard to break
It's quite a similar amount overall.
Okay, thank you, Yanni. You're done there. Thank you. Okay, so being there no more questions, do I have a mover for this, or have I done that? Sorry, I've done it already. Sorry, yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's carried. Brilliant. So we're now up to item 11, Plan Change 5, final approval. Now, this is, as it says, just the final approval, so really there's nothing we should even be thinking about changing because it's been worked. Councillor Kewen's happy to move it, and Councillor Candidate's happy to second it. Do we have any questions? I didn't think so. Have we any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. Brilliant. Right, the next one will move through faster than this. Item 12. I'm more than happy to move this because, and Councillor Kewen's happy to second it, because the work that's been done on this is, I take my hat off to Bruce and his team to get this happening. So are there any questions? Councillor Peters.
Thank you. Just picking up on the question I put to the Trust earlier around the assurances around the noise interference with their activity. Could you elaborate on the safeguards on that, please?
So building on their response, the sale and purchase agreement has a number of protections already built into it around that, particularly essentially no complaints covenants that will go on the title. We've worked really hard with this group to make sure that they understand the environment that they're going into. And right from before we even really started the conversation, when they said, well, we're interested in land, is this site a possible one? We sent them out to say, go on an event day to understand what it's going to be like before you even start. So they're very much aware of it, and we've constantly had those discussions, put protections in place. So we believe that they're well informed and there should be no issues with this.
Sorry. Hey, Councillor Johans.
Yeah, thank you. Just to check, is there other land here that we still own that will be available for?
There is other land there, yes.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So council has declared it surplus. We're looking to put the rest of that land on the market, probably early in the new year.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. So I will put no more debate, questions. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. Carried. Brilliant. Now, item 13, Recess Committee. I need a couple of volunteers. Here, Councillor Goff and Councillor Kewen and Councillor Fields. We can share it around a bit. Two. Go, Sam. You're up.
I'm here for those exact dates, Sam.
Well, I just need 2 named councillors and they will make the quorum, but the invite will go to all councillors anyway. So I just need 2 names.
Goff and Kewen. Yep. They're right. So I vote on that now. Yep. Oh, okay. All those in favour? Do I need to move? I'll move it, and Councillor Cotter will second it. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you. That's carried. Brilliant. So now we get on to Councillor Moore's notice motion item 17. Now I have to apparently vote for including it in the supplementary report. So I didn't do it at the start.
Yeah.
So I'll move it, and Councillor Scandrett will second it. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. Carried. Right. Fire away, Andre.
Now, there is new wording showing up the screen. I certainly don't want to disrupt the very nice pace that you've found this afternoon either.
No. I just wanted to get to your report quickly.
Beautiful. So there we have new wording. It's just in response. We attended a briefing recently which included the survey results about central city noise, and the issue of acoustic surveys at venues had arisen. But it also raised the issue of there potentially not being funding to do a number of acoustic surveys, which I assumed will need to be done as part of a district plan review. So I whipped away a notice of motion to see what would happen really, and I may have jumped the gun with timing, but I'm very enthusiastic, so that's not surprising. And you will have read through the officer recommendations in response. The wording has been changed to reflect the officer recommendations, so these are now in line with that.
Question, the meeting needs to agree that we get rid of the original one and just put all the yellow stuff in there. Is that what?
That's what needs to be there by the agreement of the meeting.
Just agreement of the meeting.
Okay. So is everyone happy that the stuff that's not highlighted goes and the highlighted stuff becomes? Okay.
Before you do, Sam, can you just register my interest on that so I won't take part or vote?
Okay, so do I need to vote on that, Sam?
Need a seconder and then we can vote.
Yeah.
You are the...
Seconder.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Me?
Who's the mover, sorry?
Me. And Councillor Scandrett, seconder.
Changing the wording or
Changing the word.
Yeah, it should be
Andres. It should be Andres. Could be Andres and yours or Andres and Tom's.
Andre, you're the mover.
So I'm the mover. My seconder was Councillor Templeton, but if anyone else would like to volunteer.
Well, we've got
Councillor Scandrett.
Councillor Scandrett will be seconding. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So no discussion, no debate. Is there any debate on it? All those in favour? Against? Thank you. Carried. So, yeah. So now. Right. Look at that. There are no. What have we got?
No PX.
There is no PX. So we will now have the carrot here. Kia hakarai te tapu, kia wātea te ara, kia tiru, kia wakatai, kia turuki, kia wakatai, homie, huie, tahie. Thank you very much for your attendance. Brilliant.
Now we're still planning for 2 o'clock.
We're here.
2 o'clock.
Here. Here.
2 o'clock.